How can NLP presuppositions help you break free from your limitations and supercharge your life? Today, I'm going to show you how you can change your thinking instantly so you can access more abundance and more opportunities. Keep watching. This is Life Mastery Gym. I'm Damon, and I teach people just like you cutting edge techniques and processes so that you can live a more fulfilling life and take charge of your destiny. So if that sounds good, please click subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can get these videos on a regular basis. I've been practicing and teaching Neuro Linguistic Programming techniques for years. And for thousands of students, NLP presuppositions have been a real game changer. By the end of this video, you'll be able to apply NLP presuppositions so that you can take charge of your mindset and get the outcomes that you desire. There are more than a dozen NLP presuppositions, but in this video, I'm going to cover 3. You might be asking, what is an NLP presupposition? Is it a belief? How many of you actually think that NLP presuppositions are beliefs? If so, type yes in the comments below. Not exactly. Some people might take them on as beliefs, but I don't like that. I feel like it's a little too rigid, and NLP is not like a religion. It's not something that you subscribe to and just automatically believe without testing. NLP is basically what works for you, is based on that idea of you only using what works for you. So if a presupposition isn't working for you, you don't use it. And not all presuppositions apply to all situations in your life. The way that a presupposition works is, think about anything that you presuppose. You presuppose the sun is going to come up tomorrow. If the weatherman tells you it's going to rain this evening, then you kind of presuppose that it is. You don't necessarily believe it is, and if it doesn't happen, it's not like you have this evidence that flies in the face of your belief and you go into crisis or anything like that. It's more just a loose way of holding an assumption about something that's going to happen or that things are a certain way. All reality is subjective. We don't know reality objectively. It's always being filtered through our subjective reality. So because that is true, we can then place filters or lenses on how we look at things. We're all sort of experiencing the same soup of life, but everyone has a different take on it. And some people have a great attitude about it, and they think life is great, and they're enjoying it, while others are seeing life as something that's miserable and hard. And you can put these same people in the same town, the same situation, give them the same amount of money, and people will always have different mindsets about how they perceive the reality that's going on around them. So you want to take charge of this, and NLP presuppositions help you do that. And like I said, you don't want to do this in a very rigid way. You don't want to say, okay, this is how it is. NLP presuppositions say this, so this is gospel, and we must do it this way. No, we don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to take presuppositions and lay them over how we're perceiving certain situations to give us more opportunities, to access more ideas, more insights than what we're currently doing right now. Now you might be saying, well, why put any filter or lens over this at all? Why don't we just remove them all? Well, you really can't because we're always applying some sort of filter over what we're experiencing. We're taking in information through all of our 5 senses, and those themselves are actually filters because there might be more out there than what our senses can actually pick up. And then from there's so many assumptions and beliefs that you've been creating since you were a kid that all of this information gets filtered through. So you can't really take off the lens. There's always going to be a lens there, but we can start making this conscious about how we're doing it, and then when we're conscious of it, we can change it. So instead of the programs running us, we run the programs within ourselves. And presuppositions are one way that we do that. The first Neuro Linguistic Programming presupposition that I'm going to cover is choice is better than no choice. Now you might be thinking, well, duh, that's obvious. Having choices is better than having no choices. But how are you actually perceiving situations in your life? If you feel like you're stuck in a certain situation or certain context in your life, maybe it's work or your finances, maybe it is in your personal life with maybe a relationship that you're having. A lot of times if we feel stuck, We feel stuck because we feel like we have no choice. And a lot of times we will naturally narrow a situation down because a lot of choices can feel a little chaotic. And a lot of choices can actually scare people and overwhelm people sometimes. So we have a tendency to like to narrow down our options so that we just go with something. And that can be useful too. But if you're feeling stuck, or if you feel like you're dealing with a problem that you don't know how to get out of, you don't know how to solve, chances are you have limited your focus, or you've narrowed your focus so much that you're cutting out your choices. So when you take this presupposition and you apply it to that situation or that context, and you say, okay, choice is better than no choice, what options do I have here? And how many do I actually have? The reason why we've pushed these choices and options out is we think that they won't work. But get in the habit now of starting to look for these options, look for these choices. And what this does is it trains your mind to sort for this new information. And when you start allowing in this new information, you start seeing these more of these choices, you will actually go into a state of abundance rather than scarcity. Without choice, you're in a state of scarcity. When you start adding more choices, even if you don't think they're relevant, and even if you don't think they're significant, start adding in choices. Start looking at what's actually there, and your mind will naturally start to sort for choice and abundance and more opportunities rather than limiting it. Give this a try. You'll be amazed. Just do it for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, write it down, and then let your mind go. Let your mind get curious and wander into all of these options and choices. And basically what you're doing is you're telling your mind to go in the direction of abundance and opportunity, and this actually does work. So if you're feeling like you're limited and you don't have any choices in a certain situation, know that you always have choices. You just need to widen the scope. And remember this presupposition. Presuppose that there are choices here that you're not accessing. They're there. The second presupposition is the meaning of a communication is the response that it gets. Now this is a hard one for a lot of people because we are often misunderstood by others. We say something and we meant it one way, and the other person takes it another way, and then there's this backlash, or people get angry at you, and you go, no, you've got it wrong, I meant it this way. When you apply this presupposition that the meaning of a communication is the response it gets, now you take radical responsibility for how you communicate. Because what is the purpose of communication? It's not for other people to try to figure out what you mean. Communication, good communication, the purpose of it is for you to translate what it is you mean. So if people aren't understanding it, don't blame them, don't push it off on them, take responsibility for it, change your communication. Keep changing it until it's very, very clear what you mean and that people are taking it that way. Now, you can probably take any situation that somebody's going to misunderstand, misinterpret what you're saying. So it's not like you're trying to find the universal way to communicate so that everybody understands what you mean. A lot of times it'll be individual to individual or group to group. And instead of, if the person comes back and says, so what you're saying is this, and they're totally misunderstanding you, the idea behind this presupposition is to be able to be flexible and adaptable with your communication so that you can keep changing up your communication until your meaning does come across. So this isn't about creating the cleanest communication that everybody can understand and everybody gets what you mean. It's more about cultivating the adaptability and the flexibility by taking responsibility for how you communicate. When you start thinking this way, when you apply this filter to your communication and you live through this understanding, this will change the way that you communicate. You will become so much more powerful in your communication because great communication, like I said, has more to do with adaptability and flexibility rather than getting it right. So don't think about getting it right. Focus on cultivating those resources of adaptability and flexibility and taking responsibility for your communication. If somebody doesn't understand, don't get angry at them. Don't blame them. Don't tell them it's their fault. You take it on as your responsibility and alter your communication. There's a saying that goes, you can either be right or you can be successful, or you can either be right or get what you want. That applies here too. It's not about being right, and it's not about proving someone wrong that what you meant came through in your communication and they've misunderstood it. It's more about what is the purpose of your communication, and it's to get them to understand what you mean, and that's your responsibility. The third and final one is there is no failure, only feedback. Now this is a hard one for a lot of people because it's hard to detach your emotions from failing at something or from having your expectations crushed, basically. So when you're attempting something and you expect to succeed at it and then you don't, we call this a failure. We feel bad about ourselves, or a lot of times we turn this on ourselves and we think it's because we're not good enough, we're not worthy enough, we did something wrong. And if we think that way, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Our self-esteem goes down, or we feel like our worth has gone down. And so then we act that way. We act like we're of low worth, or it could be a status situation, so we feel like we're low status. So toss all of that out and start thinking in terms of what failure actually means. If you attempted to do something and it didn't work out, that's just feedback. That's just the information comes back as, well, that way of doing things didn't work. What happens when you think of something as a failure, the word failure itself tends to make it seem like it's an unmovable fact. Like this is how it is and that's that. But when you put it as feedback, now it's something that's still moving, it's still fluid, it's still ongoing. So if I wanted to make $1 million this year and I made $500,000 this year, that's not failure, that's feedback. That's me saying, okay, I have to do some things differently here in order to achieve my goal. But if I think of it as a failure, then I'm stuck. Then I'm not learning anything. Every time you don't get something, every time you don't succeed at something, see that as a learning. And the way to do that is to look at it as feedback, not failure. It's just a matter of the outcome didn't happen based on what it was that you were doing. So now I get that feedback and I say, okay, looking at this feedback, here's what I need to change, or here's what I'm going to try. And then you try again, you get more feedback, and you just keep doing this until you get what you want. But if you think about this as failure and you turn this in on yourself, then you will start to think in terms of, well, it's not possible, or it's not possible for me. Maybe other people can do it, but I can't because I'm a failure. And that just takes you down a dark spiral, and you don't want to go there. So as hard as it can be sometimes, because we do get emotional about not getting what we want, or our expectations not being fulfilled, as hard as it is, detach that emotion and say, okay, this is not failure, this is just feedback, and I can learn from this feedback. And because I can learn from this feedback, I can keep altering what it is that I'm doing until I get what I want. All right, now you know what some of the NLP presuppositions can do for you, but you don't know everything that NLP can do for you. And that's why I created a free 4-part video series. It's an introduction to NLP, and I give you some more really powerful techniques and processes that you can use. So if you want to take this deeper, check out this free video training. The link is in the description below, and I'll also put it in the comments, and I'll link it to this video as well. Take advantage of this. I don't know how long I'll keep this out there. It's a great introduction, and like I said, if you want to take this deeper, make sure you take advantage of that training. Now, I would like to hear from you. How do you expand and grow yourself? How do you access greater opportunities and greater abundance? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please click the like button right here, and that'll let me know to make more videos like this. And remember to hit that subscribe button and the bell so you'll know when I upload new videos. And also, if you can think of someone who you know who would really benefit from this information, share it with them. Take care. Like I said, the link is